The Framework EDI is an EDI software development kit that is comprised of three utilities: the Ceph Manager, the eFile Manager, and the eAnalyzer. It also includes .NET and COM components that can be referenced by programming languages to facilitate EDI application development. The Ceph Manager is a utility used for viewing and editing Ceph files so that you can read and create implementation guidelines. For example, I can change the user requirement of this REF segment to must use. And then save it into a different Ceph file, which I'll label test. With the Ceph Manager, you can view Ceph files in the format typical of most implementation guidelines. Here's the overview of the transaction set. And after it are the details of the data segments showing their data elements. The eFile Manager is a utility used for viewing and validating small EDI files. For example, if I load this A10 EDI file with the Ceph file we just created, it opens up in a more readable format because the EDI units have descriptions in them. For example, this value here under the BIG segment is the invoice number. The EDI file also gets validated against the Ceph file, and if any errors are found, they get listed here. If I double-click on the error, the eFile Manager takes me to around the area where the error occurred. This error is basically saying that a mandatory REF segment is missing around this area. The eAnalyzer is a utility for validating EDI files. Just like the eFile Manager, it validates an EDI file against its corresponding Ceph file. Discrepancies between the two are reported as errors. However, unlike the eFile Manager, it does not display the EDI file but just the errors, allowing one to validate large files much faster. The main feature of Freddy is its .NET and COM component that can be referenced by programming languages such as Microsoft Visual Studio, enabling programmers to quickly create EDI solutions. For example, to generate an EDI file with Freddy, you would first have to reference the Freddy component by going to Add Reference, then click on .NET tab. Then find and select one of the EDIdEv Framework EDI.NET and click on OK. Once that's done, you can start programming. The program to generate an EDI file is basically mapping or assigning your data to the appropriate data element objects of Freddy, as in this BIG data segment. And you will do this for all the other segments following your trading partner's implementation guideline, and at the end you'll just call the save method and Freddy will construct the EDI file for you. Let's compile and run this program. And here's the generated EDI file. Now to translate an EDI file with Freddy, you just do the opposite. You would first load the Ceph and EDI files into the Freddy object, which parses the EDI file. And the rest of the code is basically identifying the data segments and obtaining the values from their data elements and assigning or mapping them to a variable. This sample program displays them on a Windows form text field. Here's the invoice number and date obtained from the BIG segment. And to acknowledge an EDI file, You just have to create an acknowledgement object and enable it, so that when you load the CEF files and EDI file into Freddy, it automatically creates the 997 acknowledgement, which can then be saved to a file by just calling its save method. Let's run it. And here's the 997 acknowledgement file. And that's about it. It's that simple to create EDI solutions with the EDIdEv Framework EDI software.